It started as a simple weekend getaway, a remote cabin deep in the woods, miles away from the nearest town. The perfect escape from city life. Alex, a skeptical journalist, had heard the local legends about the area but dismissed them as nothing more than campfire stories. His two friends, Mark and Lisa, were eager to unwind, not knowing that this trip would change their lives forever. The first night was uneventful, filled with laughter and the crackling warmth of the fireplace. But as the clock struck 3 a.m., Alex awoke to a whisper, so faint it could have been the wind. Yet it wasn't. It was a voice calling his name. He dismissed it, chalking it up to exhaustion. But the next morning, Lisa looked pale and shaken.
I had a nightmare. There was a woman outside the window just standing there, but her face, it wasn't right. It was blurred, shifting.
Mark tried to lighten the mood.
You let the ghost stories get to you, huh?
But as the sun dipped below the horizon, the atmosphere shifted. Shadows stretched unnaturally long. The air became thick, heavy with something unseen. The wind whispered through the trees, not random gusts, but deliberate, almost like voices murmuring just beyond understanding. That night, Alex set up his camera in the living room, determined to debunk whatever paranoia was creeping in. Around 3 a.m., the temperature plummeted. The fireplace, roaring moments ago, suddenly extinguished as if smothered by unseen hands. Then, the whispering began again, closer this time.
She's here.
Mark flicked on the flashlight, but it barely cut through the suffocating darkness. And then the knocking started, soft at first, from the window, then the walls, then the ceiling. A low, guttural moan resonated through the cabin. It didn't sound human. The knocking turned to pounding, shaking the very foundation of the cabin. Alex grabbed his camera, heart hammering in his chest. The screen flickered, static filling the feed. But for a split second, he saw her, a woman, or what used to be one. Her face was wrong. Hollow eyes, a gaping mouth stretched far beyond human limits. Her body convulsed, twitching unnaturally. She stood inches from the window, her clawed fingers tapping in an erratic rhythm. Then, in a blink, she was inside.
Lisa screamed.
Mark grabbed a chair and swung it wildly, but the woman was no longer there. And then Alex saw it, the reflection in the mirror. She was behind them. A blood-curdling shriek filled the air as Lisa was yanked into the darkness. Mark lunged, grabbing her arm, but an unseen force flung him across the room like a rag doll. Alex, paralyzed with terror, kept filming. The camera, through its static distortion, caught glimpses of her, a gaunt figure crawling toward them, her limbs bending at impossible angles. Lisa's screams choked off, replaced by gurgling silence. Alex and Mark bolted for the door, but it slammed shut on its own. The temperature dropped further, their breath visible in the cold. The woman, or whatever she was, wasn't just an apparition. She was real, and she was hungry. The lights flickered violently. Mark whispered a desperate prayer, and then silence. The next morning, a search party found the cabin door ajar, the inside in perfect order, except for the deep scratches gouged into the walls and the single camera left on the coffee table still recording. Lisa was never found. Mark was discovered wandering the woods, muttering incoherently about her face and the knocking. Alex's footage was confiscated by authorities, locked away in evidence. The locals never spoke of that cabin again. Those who tried to investigate either disappeared or were found weeks later, their eyes hollow, their faces frozen in an expression of terror. But sometimes in the dead of night, travelers passing through the area report hearing it, the knocking. And if you listen closely, beneath the wind, you might hear a whisper calling your name.